Have you ever walked into a room and felt a sudden, heavy shift in the air before a single word was even whispered? You look around and you don't just see faces, you see the invisible architecture of human deception. You catch the microscopic tightening of a lip, a gaze that shudders for a fraction of a second, or a smile that feels more like a jagged piece of glass than a gesture of warmth. Most people call this sharp intuition, but for us it is a relentless, high-definition stream of data we never asked for. It is the curse of seeing exactly what everyone else is desperate to miss. Welcome to Better State. I'm here because, like you, I've realized that being the one who knows isn't a superpower. It's a psychological burden that can slowly isolate you from the rest of the world. We are talking about a rare level of awareness that strips away the comfort of social illusions, leaving you standing alone with truths that no one else can handle. It is a dangerous line to walk, one that will either destroy your peace or turn you into someone extraordinary. Before we go deeper into the mechanics of this gift and how to stop it from consuming your mind, please take a moment to subscribe. Your support gives this channel the fuel to keep exploring these hidden corners of the human psyche together. We're in this journey of self-mastery as a tribe, and I don't want you to walk it alone. I used to think this clarity was my greatest asset in personal growth, but I eventually realized it felt more like a heavy, distorted lens I couldn't take off. Today, we aren't just analyzing behavior. We are uncovering why your brain functions like an overclocked machine, searching for technical errors in human behavior, and why that very process might be the reason you feel so profoundly exhausted. Stick with me, because the way out isn't by seeing less. It's by changing how you survive what you see. But to truly master this weight, we have to pull back the curtain and look at the cold, mechanical glitch that causes our minds to operate this way. In my own pursuit of mindset optimization, I used to think that more data always meant better decisions, but I quickly learned the hidden cost of an overclocked brain. From a neuroscience perspective, what we're experiencing is a high-speed process called thin slicing. While the average person's subconscious is a passive observer, our brains act like 24/7 data processing machines, constantly hunting for technical errors in human behavior. We are hyper-tuned to what Dr. Paul Ekman calls micro-expressions, tiny, involuntary flickers of emotion that flash across a face in as little as 1/25th of a second. Imagine the average human watching a grand play. They are captivated by the dialogue and the costumes, fully immersed in the illusion. But our minds are instinctively watching the velvet curtain behind the actors. We see the frayed ropes, the nervous sweat on the lead's forehead, and the hidden prompter whispering in the wings. When a colleague says they are happy for you, but their voice rises half a tone, and their smile fails to reach the corners of their eyes, your brain triggers an immediate data error. It's an instinctive report of the truth, as undeniable as the taste of salt in a soup. The tragedy of our perception isn't just spotting the lie, it's being forced to witness the raw insecurity and fear that made the person wear the mask in the first place. Once you begin to see these glitches in the human matrix, you realize that this clarity doesn't just provide information, it lures you into three devastating psychological traps that can quietly erode your soul. The first is what I've come to call the accidental villain, or the Cassandra complex. In the ancient myths, Cassandra saw the tragedy coming, but she was cursed to never be believed. In our modern lives, we are the ones who refuse to wear the sunglasses. When everyone else is admiring a charming new partner or a visionary leader, we see the calculated eye movements and the scripted enthusiasm of a manipulator. But when we speak up, the crowd doesn't thank us. They turn on us. To them, we aren't truth tellers, we are joy killers, cynical and paranoid, simply because we are shining a spotlight on the moldy corners they've agreed to keep hidden. This social friction often pushes us into the second trap, the detective trap. Because we can no longer trust what is said, we begin to trust only our own cold analysis. I've felt this myself. The death of innocence in a relationship. A compliment is no longer a gift. It's a setup for a favor. A late reply isn't a busy schedule. It's a sign of fading priority. We tell ourselves this hypervigilance keeps us safe, but in reality, we are just living inside 10 different worst-case scenarios of the future. We win every mental game and expose every mask, but we lose the luxury of peace. We become like people with hearing so sensitive we can hear the cracks in a building before it collapses. We survive, but we can no longer hear the music. Finally, we become an emotional dumping ground. This is the deepest loneliness I know. Standing in a crowd, watching the Titanic hit the iceberg, and knowing you have to keep dancing because no one wants to hear the truth. You see your friend's marriage crumbling at the altar through a forced smile, yet you still raise a glass. You understand everyone's pain before they even feel it, becoming the strong one who heals the world, yet you remain a glass wall. People see their own reflections in your empathy, but they never see the person hurting behind the glass. We become experts at reading everyone else's map, while no one even knows we're lost. The weight of these traps can feel like a life sentence, but I've learned that the ultimate discipline in self-mastery isn't about noticing more, it's choosing what to ignore. We have to transition from being a cold X-ray machine, which only sees the fractures, to becoming a quiet lighthouse that guides others without being drowned by the storm. This transformation begins with the art of strategic ignorance. I've had to teach myself that knowing the truth does not equate to a responsibility to fix it. If I see a coworker manipulating their way through a meeting, I now ask myself, is this affecting my mission or just my ego's need to be right? If it's the latter, I let it pass like a gray cloud. I acknowledge its existence, but I refuse to fly up and try to push it away. Beyond that, we must learn to accept the mask. In my younger, more cynical years, I saw every fake gesture as an act of malice. But through a lens of deeper empathy, I've realized that most people don't wear masks to deceive. They wear them to survive. That loud, bragging person is often just a boy terrified of being invisible. The friend who seems cold is usually just someone whose heart has been broken too many times. When we stop trying to rip the masks off, we create a space of radical acceptance. We see the armor, we understand the wound beneath it, and we choose to be kind anyway. Finally, we must find the courage to be intentionally blind. Living fully means accepting the 20% risk of being hurt so we can enjoy the 80% of joy in the present. We can see the thorns on the rose, but if we only focus on the sting, we will never get close enough to smell the flower. True mental sovereignty is the power to know the truth and still choose peace. When we finally stop trying to police the world with our clarity, our perception ceases to be a weapon and begins to evolve into something far more profound, true wisdom. This journey of self-mastery is not about numbing our senses, but about becoming the calm navigator who understands the hidden rocks in dangerous currents, yet refuses to panic. You were never meant to be a victim of your own mind. You were meant to be a lighthouse in a world that often loses its way. This rare level of awareness is indeed a brutal gift, but it is also the most beautiful bridge to genuine empathy, if only you have the strength to master it. So I have to ask, among the traps we've explored, which one currently holds your mind captive? Share your story in the comments, because we are all navigating this human complexity together. Thank you for walking this path with me. I'm Apex, and I'll see you in the next one. Living with a highly perceptive mind is like being forced to watch the world in a resolution that is far too high for comfort. We didn't choose this clarity. It found us as a primal instinct, compelling us to witness the raw, unvarnished truths of human nature, even when we crave nothing more than a simple, peaceful illusion. As we draw this journey to a close, I've realized that the greatest pain of the unmasker isn't the discovery of lies. It's the profound sense of isolation that comes from seeing what others refuse to acknowledge. We find ourselves exhausted, playing the role of a detective in a world that just wants to believe the script, or a Cassandra screaming about icebergs while the band plays on. We become heavy with the secrets of others, trapped in a loop of hypervigilance, mistakenly believing that if we can just predict the next betrayal, we can avoid the sting of human fallibility. However, the ultimate realization of this path is that your sensitivity only becomes a burden when you use it as a weapon for judgment instead of a tool for compassion. If you spend your entire life focused on the cracks in the foundation, you will forget that the house still provides warmth. If you spend every moment dissecting the thorns on a rose, you will eventually lose the ability to smell the flower. The true evolution of a perceptive mind happens when you learn to see everything, know everything, but choose to let the trivial truths drift away like gray clouds. It is about reaching a state where you can look at a mask and instead of feeling disgust, feel a quiet, radical acceptance. You realize that the mask isn't just a lie, it's a shield for a soul that is likely just as terrified and lost as anyone else's. Mastery is the ability to walk through a world of illusions with a clear heart, staying anchored in your own stillness, regardless of the storm of emotions swirling around you. The profound lesson. The core lesson here is a distinction between observation and responsibility. Just because you have the X-ray vision to see a fracture in someone else's character or a lie in their words does not mean you have the mandate to expose it or the duty to fix it. Your perception is a data point for your own safety and navigation, not a gavel to judge the world. How to apply this today? Practice strategic ignorance. When your brain flags a data error in a social interaction, ask yourself, does this truth directly impact my mission or my safety? If the answer is no, acknowledge the data, then intentionally let it go. Do not waste your mental energy policing the integrity of others. Shift from judgment to empathy. When you see someone acting fake, instead of feeling irritation, ask, what wound are they trying to protect with that mask? This shift prevents their behavior from draining your emotional reserves. Embrace the 80-20 rule of trust. Accept that human relationships are inherently risky. Decide to be consciously blind to the 20% of flaws or minor deceits in those you love, so that you can fully experience the 80% of genuine connection and joy they offer. If you're ready to stop being a victim of your own mind and start mastering the discipline of a peaceful observer, I invite you to join the Better State community. This is where we go deeper into the frameworks of self-improvement, mindset shifts, and the iron discipline required to navigate a complex world. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support our mission. Your engagement is the fuel that allows me to keep producing these deep dives into the human psyche. Let's build a better state of mind together, one truth at a time. I'm Apex, and I'll see you in the next one.